My daughter, when she was about 4, she took a whole stack of my business cards. She crossed out JBS and wrote Maya in big block letters. And I said, oh man, I made a mistake by naming a company after one kid, and then I went and had another kid.
Welcome back to the Just Build Baby Studio. You're listening to the BuildX Podcast, your ultimate guide to creating exceptional homes, innovative living spaces, and staying informed on all aspects of residential building technologies. I'm your host, Buz Artiano. Today we're excited to have Alex Steinberg in studio with us. Alex is the owner of JBS Home Inspections with over 25 years of experience in the home inspection industry. Welcome, Alex.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to have you. I think we met maybe 6-8 weeks ago at the Jack Conway Expo.
That's right.
And had a quick conversation, invited you on the podcast. I invited a lot of people. They were afraid to come on.
Yeah.
So kudos to you. You get out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, you said come on the podcast. I said, what does he see in me? But heck, I'll do it.
Good stuff. So, so maybe if you could just give us a quick history, what JBS Home Inspection stands for, and then maybe take us back before home inspections, what you did prior to that, and then take us up to present day.
Okay. So JBS, those are my son's initials.
Okay.
His name is Jacob Beadle Steinberg. And so
all right.
I was sitting, my folks have a house up in Vermont. I was at the time working for my uncle, training to be a home inspector, and business family stuff was getting a little bit stressful. So I decided to, at that point, branch out on my own. Yeah. And they said, go for it. My wife and my parents at the time were like, yeah, do it. My son at the time was, I don't know, I think he was an infant.
Oh,
little,
yeah,
teeny. And I was like, what am I going to name this? And so I was like, how about JBS Home Inspections? So it just kind of rolled off my tongue, and I was like, sure, I'll do it. 3.5 years later, we went and had a daughter, Maya. My daughter, when she was about 4, she took a whole stack of my business cards. She crossed out JBS and wrote Maya in big block letters. And I said, oh man, I made a mistake by naming a company after one kid, and then I went and had another kid.
Well, if you were smart, you would have named your daughter with a B.
Right.
And then the third kid with an S, and you would have had it.
Exactly. Exactly. So for a short bit of time, I had a company called MBS Thermal Imaging.
That's good stuff. I love that. So, so that was the impetus. But take me back prior to becoming a home inspector. What were you doing?
So right after college, I was a school teacher for a while. I taught kindergarten.
In what grades? I mean, what subjects?
Kindergarten.
Just
so
all
kindergarten
around.
Was just
generic,
basically play.
Yeah.
So
you went to college to get an educational degree?
No, I was a history major.
Really?
I was all over the map. Okay. I was all over the map. I didn't know what I want to do. I loved history at the time, so that's what I studied. I went to a small...
Any particular history? Or?
Yeah, sort of European colonialism.
Okay.
And then after that, I thought I wanted to be a grade school teacher, so I started working at a small private school in Cambridge, Mass. Okay. You didn't need any sort of master's or any sort of teaching credentials or anything at the time. They were like, come on and teach. I was like, all right. So,
it's a different era today.
It was. It was. So I went and did that for, I taught kindergarten for 2 years, which was great. You just, literally just playing with the kids, doing playing in the sandbox, doing this, doing that. And then after that, I worked in the 3rd, 4th grade for 1 year. And then after that, the parents drove me nuts because it was a small private school, and their kids could do no wrong. And I was like, I don't want any more of this.
Hyper-attention.
Exactly. Take the bubble wrap off and let the kids be kids.
Amen to that.
So after that, I worked as a auto mechanic in 2 different shops. One was a shop that worked on all kinds of cars, and the second was a BMW specialist shop. They worked on a lot of 2002, so older BMWs. This would have been in the early 90s, and 2002s are from 70 to 76.
Oh, that's the model
in
number.
That range.
Yeah, 2002.
BMW. Little teeny 4-cylinder, 4 doors, fun cars.
So you're naturally mechanically inclined then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Growing up with my father, we would.
Now it's fun. It's funny. Just stop. It's funny. So reading your inspection report, I'm like, this guy used to do something mechanical. I was thinking that when I was.
Were
reading
you?
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was 100%.
Yeah. So I love.
Again, I didn't know anything about you. I just met you at the show. I
Yeah.
liked your personality, and I said, listen, we're gonna get this guy in the podcast.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I love the way things work, right? And
Yeah.
I love figuring out how things work.
Yeah.
And my
I could tell that. I could tell that.
Yeah, yeah. My father, being a child of the Depression or just after, in where we grew up, where I grew up in Cambridge, if you wanted another phone in your house, you had to pay for it.
Sure.
So you'd call the phone company and say, I want a third phone.
Yeah.
And so they would come in and wire the third phone. My father's like, we don't need it's 2 wires. We can do it. And my father was a professor of archaeology, but he was kind of mechanically inclined too and loved to do this stuff. So some of my first things was wiring in. We were hot, we did hot phones in our houses. My brother had a phone, I had a phone, my mother had a phone in her office. So that was some of my first wiring.
There you go. So you're working as a BMW mechanic.
Yeah, and then both shops that I worked at were kind of dysfunctional. There was either a lot of arguing going on, or the second shop that I worked at was not very safe, and so after that I became a welder, and I did welding for scenery and trade shows up in Natick. Jordan's Furniture used to have a New Orleans motif. I don't know if you or any of your listeners ever went there, but we built the whole scene for that. Cool. And then we did a huge job out in Cincinnati where we did like a children's museum. And so I was behind the scenes doing the sort of the metal frame.
Fabrication. Yeah.
And that was great. I loved to weld. It was just, kind of like a hot glue gun, right? Yeah. And then I was going to become like a lower manager in that company. And to do that, they also did scenery for trade shows and meetings. So I'd have to show up at a hotel at like 2 a.m, put in the set from like 2 to 4. And we had just had our first kid, and I was like, I don't want to do that. Yeah. So that's when
babies in travel don't mix.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Not at all.
If you want to stay married.
Not at all. Not at all. And so my uncle was a home inspector, and my aunt, my mother's sister, said, you'd be great at this. You should do this. And so at that time, my uncle started to train me. Okay. And then since then, he's gotten out of the home inspection world, and he does strictly air quality stuff.
Interesting.
Mold and mildew.
Yeah.
But I trained with him, Jeff May, J. May Home Inspections. And he was one of the first home inspectors in the greater Boston area. He probably started in the early 80s, I want to say.
Oh, wow.
Early to mid 80s. The home inspection industry's only been around since about 1976.
Yeah, no, I know it's fairly young.
It's it's young.
I mean, I remember in the early days, in the early 90s when I was building houses, it was very rare that someone would call a home inspector. It was very, very rare.
Yeah.
And then when it would happen, you're like, what do you mean home inspection? Who's this? Right.
Right. And some of them are good, and some of them, not so good, right?
We won't go down that road.
Just like everything. You can have a great doctor and a not so good doctor.
Yeah, I've had some stories for sure over the years.
Yeah. And so it stuck, and I hung up my own shingle in the year 2000, and have been working for myself ever since.
Awesome.
It's been great. So
that's a big transition though, with a new baby, new business, named improperly.
Yeah. It was a lot at the time. I was trying to do handyman
and
stuff on the side.
How did you first get your first jobs? Were you just cold calling realtors? What were you doing?
So I felt like Arthur Miller's Death of a Salesman, the play where the poor guy, and I would put on a tie.
Yeah.
And I had different routes to realtors' offices.
Cold call, milk run.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And I would go and I would drive. I'd drive to the South Shore. I'd drive west of Boston. I'd drive north of Boston. I'd go to Boston proper.
Yeah.
And I met a realtor, luckily, right in Cambridge, and we lived in Watertown at the time, so it was close. This guy named Jerry Ficklin. And he was selling condos like hotcakes. Yeah. And he brought me in on a ton of his deals. Yeah. And so I met him, and he was great. I probably met 2 or 3 other realtors, which gave me fairly consistent work.
Yep.
And then I became a member of a BNI group.
Yep.
BNI is Business
Yep.
Networking International.
Yep.
And I was in a BNI group in Newton Center. And in that group, there was a mortgage guy, Larry Katzman.
Yeah.
And he did mortgages, and he had a bunch of young guys who were just, this was in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
So the market was hot.
Yeah, yeah.
They were, mortgages were going like hotcakes. And so each of his employees were buying homes. And so they would use me, and then all of their clients would use me. And it just, it's like when you start a business, it seems to me, I'm sure you can speak to this, but like 0 to 3 years, you're struggling. And then 3 to 6, you're like, oh, I'm getting a little bit of traction. And every chunk of years, you just grow a little bit more.
Yeah.
A little
and
bit
it's
more.
the flywheel effect. It takes a long time to get a flywheel spinning.
Absolutely.
And assuming you're doing a good job,
Yeah.
The rest will take care of it. So, but I want to take you back to those cold call days.
Yeah.
So, obviously that was done out of necessity, right? Did you read any books about it? Did you just go say, hi, my name is Alex? Well, I mean, how did you
I did not know what I was doing.
Okay, so you didn't read any books, you didn't do any research, you just
I didn't do anything.
Printed some business cards and went banging on some doors.
Yeah, I made a brochure, which was professional, had a business cards, which were professional also. I went in and kind of said...
And what was your pitch? Give me your pitch.
Yeah, I said, hey, my name's Alex Steinberg. I'm a new home inspector in the area. I'd love to talk to you for a minute or two about what I do. And when I went to home inspector meetings and when I talked to realtors, there was always this thing about being a deal killer, right? About presenting information in a way at a home inspection, which is A, hard to hear, and B, scares people, right? And so, hard to hear because it's too technical, right? Or scares people because you're like, oh my God, this house has a water heater that's about to blow up and it's gonna flood your entire house, right? That's one way to present something.
Yeah.
And you could also say, hey, your water heater's old, you should deal with it in a timely manner.
Is at the end of its life, yeah.
So I talked a lot during that pitch about how I communicate, about how I present stuff, about the fact that I'm thorough, because most of the realtors I saw wanted someone who was thorough. They just wanted someone who was thorough, who was able to present in a good way.
Yeah, in a way it did blow the deal up.
Right. And so, I mean, throughout the years, I've been able to walk that walk really with a lot of grace. And it's just something that luckily I do well. And so over the years, it's just that in and of itself has been sort of my main driver about how I've built the business where it is now.
Interesting.
And so I think that some realtors way back then were like, oh, this is kind of an interesting pitch.
Yeah.
And so they would try
like
me
you
out.
said, it only took a couple guys to get you started.
Yeah.
That's I mean, I think back to all the businesses I started, and I can think back to 2 or 3 people that I met were instrumental in getting me going.
Yeah, completely. Yeah, completely. There was a couple older home inspectors too who kind of took me under their wing.
Yeah, there you go.
There was a great guy named Arnie Green, who he was a sweetheart of a man, and he would just he'd be like, come on some home inspections, sort of here's how I did it, show me the ropes, and those are all through a group called ASHI. ASHI's the American Society of Home Inspectors. That's the group that we met at Jack Conway.
Right.
And I've been heavily involved in the ASHI New England chapter for 25 years.
That's awesome.
Ever since I've been doing it.
So now we're home inspecting. Tell me about the book idea. Where did the book come in?
So I go to ASHI.
So we have the book. It's called How to Operate Your Home, a Homeowner's Manual for Your Home. JBS Home Inspections, Inc., Alex Steinberg, with your phone number and your website, which we'll put on the screen. I did thumb through it. It's very thorough, and it's all great stuff, and it's all real. Some of it's a little outdated because technology's changed.
Absolutely.
But it's still a great read. And so any home inspection you do gets left behind?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So free copy of the book.
Yeah, free copy of the book. I usually hand it to my client at the very end of the inspection because
the person you're working for.
Right, right. And 99% of the time, that's the buyer.
Right, understood.
Right. So,
in my case, it was a little different, but yeah.
Right. So I went to an ASHI national conference, and the guy who wrote this book was there, and I said, oh, I should probably give this a try. This was maybe a decade ago. And so ever since then, I've been giving out these books, and clients love it. I didn't write it. The cover of this book used to look like a Crayola drawing, and I would hand it to my clients, and usually the the men would say, "Oh, you're giving us a coloring book?" And I got so sick of hearing that line that I went back to these guys and I said, "Hey, can you make a cover that suits more of
private
a
label.
New Englandy feel?" And they were like, "Sure." So
that's awesome.
So there you have it.
Yeah.
And clients love it. They're like, "Oh my God, this is fantastic."
No, I mean it's good stuff. I mean, it's all stuff that 98% of it I agree with, and like I said, I'm not going to claim I read every page. I didn't, but I did thumb through. I looked at the drawings, and they all make sense. And this is all good, pertinent stuff for any homeowner that needs to understand how something works or what they're looking at, and it's very thorough. So and it's got a little checklist of cleanups and things to do, and it's all good stuff. So
one thing I tell my clients when I give it to them is, if you're having a plumber come, maybe look at the plumbing section before the plumber comes. It just might get a little bit of vocabulary in your head so that when they come, you'll know a little bit about what they're talking about. Because people today, they don't know a water heater from a furnace.
No, there's definitely a generational shift going on that you see with people. Honestly, people are so busy, and they've grown up in households where things were just done without them being involved. That I think there's definitely an operational gap, between, I would say 40 and under and 40 and above.
Yeah.
So
I think that's absolutely.
And
right.
again, that's not a dig on anybody. It's just the way they grew up. So I can see both sides. I can see that's great. Who cares what's doing the water heater? Just come fix it if you have the money.
Right.
Versus if you don't have the money, we got to figure out how to fix it. Right.
Right.
So it's I can see both sides of that. So it's an interesting phenomenon that I've definitely witnessed over the years as a contractor. So take me through your average inspection. What's that look like? Is it just kind of give me if you're pitching me as a new realtor, pitch me about what your inspection involves and how long it takes. And
okay, so if we're doing a 3,000 square foot single family home, the client will call. We'll figure out a time that works for everybody. I'll quote them the price.
Yeah, so let's talk about money. So what does your inspections cost? How does that work?
So I'm a little bit higher in the spectrum of where home inspections cost, which is kind of right where I want to be.
Sure.
So 2,500 square foot single family would be around $875.
Okay.
If
it's $875, and then if it's much bigger, it goes up a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. If it's a 8,000 square foot home, it might be 2,800.
Right. Okay. So you'll look up how many square feet it is, and you'll give us the price up front. This is what I'm going to charge.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Age as well. If it's a 1776 home, I'm going to charge a lot more. Not a lot more, but I'll add
you're going to be digging.
$150. Right. I'm going to be in a crawl space probably.
100%.
And if I'm in a crawl space, I'm going to charge a little more.
Yeah. Well, you got to wear some, PPE, and you're going to throw away your Tyvek suit. And,
right.
It costs money. So.
And at 55, it's harder to get down there.
Yeah, I understand. You don't look a day over 100.
Well, thank you.
So we get the price over the phone, and we make a schedule. So then what happens?
And I've never once not stuck with my price.
Okay.
So
you make your deal, you live with it.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Right. And then I show up. Usually my home inspections start at 9 a.m. I'm there at 8:30 because really what's important for part of my process is to get to the job early, get a lay of the land, start the inspection, figure out just about what I'm going to be looking at, whether I think there's going to be termites there, whether the house might have aluminum wiring from the Vietnam era. There's a lot of things that I can see, not even going into the house, that I might be having to dig into.
Yeah, so you're kind of activating your observatory powers in that preview without anybody there yakking in your ear.
Absolutely. And it's when people show up early, I'm kind of like, but.
No, I do a similar thing. I like getting there early, walking the perimeter, walking the outside, walking the front, and I start formulating my ideas about what I'm seeing. And for me, I don't want anyone else's paperwork ahead of time. I don't want to predispose myself to a discovery. I will take the paperwork afterwards, but prior to my inspections, if I'm doing an inspection, not a home inspection, but a physical inspection, for whatever reason that is. And obviously, I've done a lot of insurance repair over the years. So if there's a comparative estimate or something else out of an insurance report or an engineer's report, I do not want to read that prior to my inspection. After I do my work, before I leave, I'll read it. And then if I have to, I'll go back and look, because I don't like to predispose myself to their ideas.
Absolutely, I agree. I think I think some people just need to work that way, right? They need to get their own stuff, their own juices flowing, right? And
100%.
People will say, hey, do you want to see a home inspection was done here 18 months ago, and I'll say, sure, put it on the kitchen table, let's look at it at the end. I'll do exactly what you do. I might, did I miss X? I better go back and take a look.
No, and I'm not saying I didn't read those reports and be like, oh, okay, I got to go look at that again.
Right.
Or I might read it and say, yeah, I don't know if I agree with that, but let me go look.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I get there half an hour early, start with the exterior, and then the client shows up, and I'll take them sort of through what I've already seen. From there, I start the dishwasher, and then we go into the basement. And I do structure and then all the systems. So structure.
So you have a checklist, electronic. So you're using some type of software.
I have great software that I switched to about 6 or 7 years ago. It's called, maybe 8 years ago. It's called Scribeware. Yeah. It's a company based out of Seattle.
And it's made for home inspections.
Yeah.
And you're doing this on your phone or a tablet?
On my phone.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah. I have I need reading glasses, so. I have an extra big iPhone.
Yeah.
And
the 16 plus.
16 plus, and my arms, even with my glasses, my arms aren't getting quite long enough. Oh, it's funny in the winter too, because you're wearing gloves.
Yeah.
And I have a stylus, and I wear the stylus on a lanyard on my neck, but I have to get an extra long lanyard so I can. All of my friends are like, what are you, a moron? Just get reading glasses. I'm like, okay, I'll get reading glasses.
You held on as long as you could.
Exactly, but it's hard to, there's a lot of stuff.
Believe me,
right?
I know. You get the more stuff you're messing with, the more it messes up what you're doing.
Exactly.
Yeah, 100%.
And process in what I do is key.
100%. You got to start to be, so it's interesting. So you start at the dishwasher.
Well, I just turn it on because if there's no short cycle, I want to have it be able to run.
So you let it run while you're working.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. I like that.
Yeah, because I don't want to ever leave a house with something that I've started, and then it's still going when I leave. That's a major faux pas in my world.
Understood.
So if that thing lets go, who owns the problem? We do.
Right.
So and then we go to the basement, look at structure, and then systems. So HVAC, plumbing, electrical.
Now, when you're let's pick on electrical, and I'm going to interrupt you a bunch ahead of time because
please.
I just want to get some more details. So, electrical panel, do you take the cover off and look inside?
We do. We have to take the cover off, which is an interesting thing in Massachusetts because I think that the Massachusetts electrical code says only licensed electricians are allowed to take the cover off.
We won't tell anyone.
Right, but our standards of practice say we have to take the cover off. So actually in Rhode Island, they just, the electricians lobbied and said that home inspectors can't take the cover off anymore, which is hard for everybody involved because if you want to have a thorough inspection of that house, you then have to hire a home inspector and an electrician to come. So I'm not quite sure why they did that. I think who knows?
I think we all know why that happened.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's a separate podcast.
Right. So we pull the cover off, and when we're looking in the panel, there's tons of things we're looking for. Double taps, improperly sized wires, missing knockouts.
Yeah.
Are sub panels wired the way sub panels are supposed to be, or are they wired like
burned
main
wires?
Absolutely.
Aluminum wires.
Aluminum wires.
Breakers that are tripped.
Right, exactly. Breakers that are tripped. We'll get to that in a bit. I'm curious to know what happened there. And then older, what I see a ton of is older knob and tubing, not so much anymore. When I first started, a lot of knob and tubing left.
Yeah.
But nowadays it's the generation after that, so it's BX.
Yeah.
Old armored cable.
Yeah. The old armored cable, no ground.
Yeah, the ground.
No ground. And then I haven't seen one of those fire starter panels in a while. I can't remember the brand of that.
Federal Pacific.
Yeah, I haven't seen one of those in a while.
Yeah.
But I used to have a collection of those breakers somewhere. That we would take.
Stab locks.
Yeah, stab lock.
Yeah.
The never trip.
Right.
Stab lock.
Right.
Yeah.
They were loose. I think they were loose in the panel. They didn't click in tight. I had a client once, an old guy, come to me and he goes, that's all malarkey. I was like, what? He goes, I read something about that, and someone just did a study in grad school and picked on these panels, and they said that the panels were no good. So I think these panels are fine. I was like, oh, you can think what you want, but I'm going with the party line.
I can tell you, I've seen a lot of fire started from those old panels.
Really?
100%. Yeah. Especially back in the 90s.
Yeah. So it wasn't malarkey.
No. Those breakers would not trip.
Yeah.
They would not trip, and then they would arc in the backside.
Yeah.
And burn the breaker. There was all kinds of things that went on.
Yeah.
But we used to call them the fire starter panels.
The fire starters. Yeah.
Yeah.
Federal Pacific.
Somewhere I had it's probably long gone, but I had a panel and a whole bunch of breakers.
Yeah.
And ones that had burned up, and
Yeah.
it was kind of a neat show and tell.
Yeah. Interesting. I don't see nearly as many of those as I did 25 years ago.
No, they're all been ripped out.
Yeah.
Because what was happening is a lot of insurance companies found out about it, and then when you went to insure your house, they would come in inspection. They say, "Listen, we're not going to insure you unless you get that ripped out."
Right.
Which was a good thing, because a lot of people
Absolutely.
got seriously hurt.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Home inspectors.
So we pull the
complain about all
panel. I mean, do you run the furnace?
Oh, yeah.
What level do you go to with that?
In terms of heating systems, we pull off the jackets that come off. If it's a couple of screws, pull it off. If it's, we don't take off more than just the cover of the furnace or the boiler. And then run it. I always run it sitting in front of it. I ask the realtor usually to turn the heat up. Make sure it fires up. Make sure there's no condensate leaks now. It's all venting properly. I carry a combustible gas detector, so I'll check for gas lines around it.
Wow.
I'll check for.
So this is a very thorough mechanical inspection.
Yeah.
This is not just, it looks good, move on.
Absolutely not.
And you're looking at the dates of this equipment?
Yep. I look at the dates on it, which we can usually tell by the serial number if the date itself isn't actually stamped on it. So, and then we're taking a look at the filter, pulling the filter out, seeing if it's the right size, seeing if it's dirty, seeing what the quality is. And then just stuff with HVAC changes all the time.
Sure.
Right?
A lot.
So now they're moving to a new refrigerant with AC. The refrigerant is slightly flammable.
Correct.
So the furnaces have to have a, sensor to pick up whether there's any refrigerant leaks so that, they won't fire up.
Yeah.
So
there's propane in the new refrigerant.
Yeah. So it's being a member of ASHI is great because we have maybe 8 educational things per year.
Wow.
And I go to all of them. Not that we need that many credits. I just like to.
It's good. I mean, you learn something every time.
Yeah.
I mean, I know every time I ever go to any type of educational seminar, you don't pick up 10 things. You do, but you pick up 2, 3.
And that makes it worth it.
Yeah, 100%.
Right.
Yeah.
You pick up those 2 or 3 things. The next week you normally see them.
Yeah. It's funny how that works.
Murphy's Law.
Yeah. I remember seeing that.
One thing I forgot to say when I said that why I got into home inspections is someone brought me to a class and the guy was talking about heat transfer, convection, conduction, radiation. And I was like, oh, this is cool stuff. This is what I want to do. And that short little thing, I'm like, this is it.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, you never know, right?
Yeah.
So we start in the basement. So this Scribe software, must be a lot of points in there that you're checking off.
They were great with me. I used to use a different type of software, and they let me scrub their software clean and rebuild it so it fits exactly my workflow.
Interesting. So how many points of inspection do you have in there? Do you know?
Oh,
is it like 500?
No, probably 80.
Okay, but every 80 there's a real inspection though.
Yeah, because I'll have exterior trim and siding, and then within that I might have 70 comments. So,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it's 80 times whatever.
Yeah.
So there's probably 500 or 600 then.
I probably have 500 or 600 pre-written things that are ready to drop in.
Yeah, because it saves you time because you can just hit the one you want to hit.
Some I use daily, some I use once every 3 years.
Right.
So,
interesting.
It all depends.
So we're in the basement, we finished that, and then what, you just keep working your way up?
Yeah. So done with the basement, usually I'll do a recap with the clients and say, hey, this is what I found out here.
So the potential buyer is with you?
Yeah. Because
Are they always with you?
Yeah, because I like to teach a lot. So I like to say...
wonder where that came from.
Yeah, exactly. This is your heating system. Here's how it works. It moves water. It moves air. It moves steam. Whatever the case is.
So you're spending a lot of time looking and teaching and talking at the same time.
I am.
Wow.
I am, which is great to have that software in my hand because I can just, hey, give me just 15 seconds. I'll put a bunch of stuff in, and then I'll turn back to them. Or the realtor's always there. So the realtor is a great buffer for short conversations.
Sure.
So they'll have a short conversation. I'll walk over and be like, hey, I want to show you something. And then they all come over and
Wow.
and we go over it.
I did not know that I don't know why I didn't know this, but I didn't know the buyer was always there.
Yeah, my buyers are there, probably 95% of the time.
Wow, interesting. I knew the realtor part, but I didn't think about the buyer.
Yeah.
Because I'm usually not, I think over the years that I've had properties that I've sold and there were home inspections, I don't remember any time actually ever being there.
The seller usually isn't.
Yeah, no, I just, for whatever reason, I
Yeah.
think I was at a couple just because.
You want to check it out?
No, I don't remember why I was there, but
Yeah.
I mean, I sold a lot of stuff, so.
Right.
I don't know, but I don't remember ever thinking about the buyer. Well, it makes sense that the buyer would be there because it's a good opportunity to hear it. And again, most of what I was doing for new construction, so they were fairly, quick inspections.
Right.
Because they're brand new houses. So.
Right. So for me, on new construction stuff, I draw up a punch list.
Sure.
And that punch list would get submitted to the builder developer, and then they can say, I will fix.
Negotiate.
Yeah.
So the report I got was kind of a punch list report.
It was.
Yeah, okay.
It was.
All right.
Yeah.
So, so now you're done with the inspection on the inside. Then what? You do the exterior?
So no, I've done the outside first.
Oh, okay.
Then we go down to the basement.
Yeah.
I do all that. I usually tell the clients, hey, I'll meet you in the kitchen. I just want to take another pass through the basement on my own. And then so I'll just do one more pass through just to make sure I haven't missed anything.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on down there, right?
Yeah.
With the clients, with the software. There's just.
I don't. So for me, I would never. I would not want the. When I do an inspection of a property, I'll walk with them, and then I tell them they need to leave me alone, and then I go back and do my thing.
Yeah.
Because I can't do that simultaneously for myself, anyways.
Yeah. Just to. I mean, I've.
No, you can do it, but the way my brain works, I'll walk with them and we'll talk, and then I'll say to them, listen, we're gonna walk and talk. When you're done talked out, you need to leave me alone for a half hour, whatever it is.
Right.
I need to do and then I'll come back to you. Any more questions you have, I'll answer them, or we'll walk again. But I need my own headspace to do my work.
There's a lot of home inspectors who perform exactly like that.
Okay.
Right? Like they'll pull them in and then say, okay, I'm going to go do the first floor. And then they pull them in again and then they say, okay, I'm going to go do the second floor.
Yeah. Well, that's why I don't walk and chew gum at the same time either.
Right.
So.
You trip on the sidewalk.
Exactly. So outside's done, we're inside. And then what happens when you're done with the inspection? You give them a recap tour, or?
So yeah, I'd give them I would give them.
Do you give them the high and low points?
Yeah. We usually talk for, just a couple minutes, maybe 10. And I'll say the house is in pretty good shape. These are sort of the big things that I'm seeing.
So you give them the highlights and the lowlights.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And then usually, everyone. We leave, shake hands. I usually then go right. I've tried for years to go home, but I just don't write I don't write the home inspection report at home very efficiently at all. In fact, it's horrible. So I usually go to a coffee shop, and I sit down and bang it out. And
you do that on your phone again, or you pull your laptop?
No, I pull up my laptop.
Okay, so you clean it up and get it out right away.
Yep. All the data goes from my phone to the cloud.
Sure.
I open up my laptop. It comes.
Clean it up.
Yep. And clean it up. Put the arrows in. Put the circles in.
Whatever it is. Yeah.
Put the captions in the pictures. Sometimes I do that in the field, but I check. Then I proofread it, and if I don't find any spelling mistakes, it means I'm not proofreading carefully enough. So I go back and start from scratch. I'm sure there was a thing or two misspelled in your.
We won't talk about that now. It's funny. So I can look at a word and know it's spelled wrong, but for the life of me, sometimes I can't type it.
Yeah.
It's mind-boggling.
Yeah.
And I laugh about it all the time. Does and does.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times. I'm like, you think after 64 years you'd figure this out?
I can't spell recommend, and I write it about 100 times a day.
Exactly. I love spell check. The first thing I do any program, I figure out how to get the spell check to work.
Spell check running. Yeah. It's I've never been able to spell.
Yeah.
My mother still teases me. I was in remedial writing in high school, and they were like, okay, write essay on the top of your page because you're going to write an essay, and I wrote S-A. A.
I love it. I love it. So 24 hours-ish after the inspection?
Usually 3 to 5 hours.
Okay, so you're fast.
I turn it around quick.
Yeah, because you know they were hot for it.
They're hot for it. I want to get it out.
Yep. And when do you get
probably
paid?
if I sat on it for 12 hours, I might find more of those
Yeah.
spelling errors.
So when do you get paid? When you send it, you get paid up front? How does it work?
Yeah, I use another software called ISN, which is the Inspection Support Network, and people usually pay me through that.
Okay.
So
up front or after the report?
They as soon as they book a job, they'll get an email.
Got
and
it.
that email is a link to review and sign the agreement, and then
Yeah.
another link to pay with a credit card.
Got it.
So some of them pay me 2 hours after they book the job, which could be a week before. Some people pay me right after the inspection. But the software is set up where they can't open the report until they've paid. So everyone's like, oh, that's clever. And I've never, I mean, knock wood, I've never not been paid.
No, that's good.
So-
I mean, obviously you're doing a good job. I mean, I read your report. It's very obvious that you know what you're doing. Like I said, I remember I looked through it quickly, and I said, and I already told you this. I was like, this guy definitely has a mechanical background.
Yeah.
So.
I just love, I love thinking about the way things work.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
can
it's
tell
just-
that.
Yeah.
So, so now we're done with the report. We've sent it to the client, and now they're mulling around. Are they calling you a lot and saying, "What do you mean by this?" Is the seller calling you and say, "How dare you"?
Great question. I usually get, if I do, let's say it's a busy week and I've done 7 jobs, I might get 4 follow-up phone calls. So no, they don't call a ton. Often the realtors might call and say, hey, we're trying to negotiate this. What do you think about X?
Got it.
A client might call 1 or twice and say, hey, but they don't do a ton of calling me back. And I kind of attribute that to the fact that my reports are written in plain English.
Yeah, it's very very thorough too.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. Now, what happens when they want your opinion about something? What do you do in that case? So you find something that's fairly egregious, and you're standing there with the buyers, and you show them this egregious thing, and they say, "What do you think we should do?" What do you do in that case?
So I'll sort of preface that by saying, this is my opinion, and every real estate deal is its own entity, and here's what I'm seeing that's going wrong. Let's say it's a ton of termite damage, right? Like it's all on the sill.
Yeah.
Let's say it's a split level. It's behind that front stoop.
I know those are the worst.
Right. You've seen it. You've seen
Oh yeah.
Block foundations. So they got up in there. I'll say, it's up to you what you guys want to do, but here's what I'm seeing. Here's what needs to get done. So you got to get a pest inspector in here first, let you know whether it's still active or not, though I could probably tell them that, but let you know also what a treatment would cost. And then step 2, after the pest guy, is getting a contractor in here to figure out what it's going to cost to fix. Right?
Which is really hard to do because you know how far it goes.
Right. Is it 10 linear feet? Is it 50 linear feet? Did they go up into the studs?
Yeah,
right. So
you don't know.
Right. So I say to them, this could be a $2,000 project. It could be a $30,000 project. It could be a $50,000 project. Yeah. So it's So you
try to give them a little guidance, but obviously you have limited intel of what you're looking at.
Right. There's
You're
limited
identifying the problem for them to do further investigation.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. We are like your primary care physician. So we go in, you got a knee ache, you got to go see this person. It could be X, Y, or Z. And so when when I find something that is, pretty problematic for a house, we talk about it. We talk about the different approaches of having it fixed. We talk about the different sort of ends of the cost spectrum, but I'd never tell them how to then negotiate the deal, right? That's not why we're there.
I understand,
right?
and it's good for people to know that.
Yeah, it's about the house.
Yeah.
We're there to talk about the house. We're not there to talk about the transaction.
Yeah, understood.
So
that's good. So so thank you. That's a good understanding of what happened. So let's pivot a little bit. I know you wanted to talk about some recent legislation. So why don't you? I did read a little bit of stuff on the Realtor board. So maybe if you could bring me up to speed on what's going on in legislation-wise.
Right. So recently a law was. So let me give you a little bit of background.
Sure.
So probably in 2000 and 18, 17, I started to get calls from people saying, hey, I want to waive my home inspection. Can you do a shorter thing? And I was like, I mean, I guess I can back then. And so some home inspectors were doing consultations without a report. Some home inspectors were doing partial inspections with a report. Some were going to open houses. Some were doing drive-bys, right? It was like the Wild West out there.
So when you say going to open houses, like with the buyer,
Yes.
saying, hey, come with me, I need you to walk through this with me and tell me if
Yes.
you see anything really bad.
Yeah.
Wow.
And as
So
we
that's
talked
because
about,
and that was because the market was so hot that if they put an inspection requirement in, they would just move on to the next buyer that didn't want an inspection.
that's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Right, and the problem with that is, in the fever of that, and I saw it very many times, in the fever of that, people were buying houses and not realizing that there was $20,000, $40,000, $50,000 worth of work that needed to be done pretty quickly or more, and they were buying it because they were just so desperate to get a house.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It came to a head post-COVID when there was not much inventory and mortgage rates were like 2.5 to 3.
Yeah.
Right. So there was this perfect storm.
Yeah.
Right. There was tons of buyers, not a lot of product,
Yep.
and money was cheap.
Yep.
And so you had this thing where people were giving away their kids. Right.
Oh no, it was crazy. I was during that whole in the tail end of that pandemic. I was finishing up a subdivision, and I had people buying houses sight unseen from across the country so that they could move to be closer to their loved ones.
Yeah.
And they literally would do. I was doing FaceTime with customers, walking them through, saying, "This is your house."
Yeah.
And the parents or someone would be there that was close by.
Right.
And they would say, "Yeah, everything looks good. Go ahead and close."
Right. You give a year warranty, so you'd come back if a door didn't close.
No, 100%.
Right?
It wasn't a problem because I
Right.
built a good product. But
Right.
I mean,
Right.
I still remember standing there going, I can't believe I'm doing this with a FaceTime right now. These people in California,
Right.
they're about to sign papers to buy this, whatever it was, $500,000-$600,000 house,
Right.
and drive across the country and literally see their house for the first time and walk in the door.
Yeah. Yeah. It was insane. I mean, we would show up at, realtors would say, okay, you can do pre-offer inspections. You have an hour in the house.
Wow.
And you can come from 11 to 1. And we'd be there with like all of our other home inspector friends.
Yeah,
There'd be like 6 of us
Yeah, it's
in
a
there.
cattle call.
We'd be like,
Yeah.
hey, what's going on?
Yeah.
Oh, hey, did you see this? Did you see this? I mean, so most of the buyers had the same information.
Sure.
Because the home inspectors are not very adversarial with each other.
No.
So, it's sort of a, so that started happening, and we went from probably, and I'm just throwing this number out there, but probably 70% of sales had home inspections to 70 or 80% didn't have home inspections.
No, I saw that.
So
Yeah.
we had some of the older guys who didn't do a lot of networking went out of business. The bigger companies that had multiple inspectors shrunk a huge amount.
Sure.
And so at ASHI New England, we got together with the board, and then we went to the whole membership, and we said, how would you guys feel about trying to make legislation that would, and people were on board. Our group is on board.
No, the no inspection thing is fine if you're a billionaire and you're buying a $5 million house and they're like, yeah, it's $1 million worth of problem. You're like, yeah, whatever. I was planning on ripping all that out anyways because I want my Gucci designer to make it the way I want it anyways. But for the average person that's 30-40% of their salary they're about to buy a house for, and all of a sudden they don't realize that there's a tremendous amount of problems. It's a big problem.
It's a kick in the teeth.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a kick in the teeth. It's exactly what you said. Like the American dream of buying a home. Well, that was only for the really wealthy because they could take it on the chin if they had to.
Exactly.
But if you're scraping and saving for your first time home, then you either were going to buy something, way out that was so inexpensive that you could take a $50,000 hit,
right?
Or you wouldn't risk it.
Right, exactly.
So
the legislation got drafted.
So it got drafted, and we lobbied and lobbied and lobbied, and we aligned with a guy named Jay Rizzo from Tiger Home Inspections, who's a great guy, and he did a lot from his end, and we got a lobbyist, and this law passed in one session. It passed in the Senate in Massachusetts 40-0.
Wow.
And it basically states that offers are home inspection blind. So a seller and a seller's agent can't say to a buyer, you have to waive your home inspection. We won't even look at your offer. You know, they can't look at an offer if you've waived a home inspection. So let's say there's 10 people, they all put offers in. All those offers will have, you know, different numbers attached to them, different closing dates, all this. And then after one gets accepted, the buyer can still say, okay, I don't want a home inspection. Or the buyer can say, okay, I'm choosing to do my home inspection next Tuesday. And so it just...
Wait, let's break that down a little bit, because I know I did read this legislation and I'm not really crystal clear on this. So let's slow that down a little bit. So there's 5 offers come in that, you know, from XYZ price, you know, mortgage contingency, some don't, closing dates, whatever, we want to, you know, we want to do whatever. But the only thing that can be left off now is the home inspection clause?
Yeah, exactly. They won't...
So it's not on the offer form anymore?
It's yet to see what's going to happen.
Okay, so right now it's still on there.
It's still, but they have a grace period until October 15th. So the lawyers and the realtors are now looking at how to implement
Okay, so it's coming off then.
Yes.
That's coming off.
It's probably going to come off.
Okay, so by 2026, the landscape is going to be offer, doesn't list any home inspection, but then you can elect to do one?
That's right.
Okay, and you have how many days after the offer signed?
That is up for
so that's in the air
too.
as well.
Right.
Okay. But there's going to be some time frame. You know, Monday they accept my offer. I probably got till 5 or 6 business days to get my inspection done.
Right. It can't be too long because that's not fair for the seller.
Yeah,
right. I mean, so.
But that's good. So that evens the playing field for the people that aren't going to play Russian roulette with their money and buy a house without an inspection.
That's exactly right. Yeah. It evens the playing field. It came from the fair housing. You know, it came from the fair housing part of the...
Oh, it got in the Fair Housing Act with the ADUs.
Exactly.
Okay.
Oh, did the ADUs come? Did something happen with the ADUs?
Yeah, that's where the ADU legislation was. It's embedded in that Fair Housing Act.
It was embedded
it was
in
attached
same,
to that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of pieces inside there that people don't realize.
What happened with the ADUs? Can you tell me, like, did the state just say...
Yeah, they're approved statewide, so the law went into effect on February 2nd, 2025.
Okay.
And a Sunday, of all days. And I don't understand that, but, it was signed, you know, the previous July of 24. And it basically states that if you have a single-family dwelling, and you have a right to build an accessory dwelling unit, either inside, attached, or detached, up to 900 square feet or 50% of the gross floor area of the primary structure.
Okay.
So, and that's as of right. And then, of course, you need to meet the zoning setbacks and make the septic work. But it opened up a lot of opportunity for people to move their loved ones close to them and have people, you know, and really open up a lot of opportunity for people to do some innovative housing for their relatives. And a lot of people were really afraid of it being rental. The rental is 2% of ADUs.
Really?
100%, because the numbers don't make sense.
Right.
You're going to spend anywhere from $250,000 to $350,000 to build a decent ADU.
Right.
Right. And how much are you going to rent it for? And with mortgage, now listen, if mortgage rates go back down to 2%, it might be a different discussion.
Right.
Right. But right now it's 6 or 7%. The numbers don't pan out. You're not even trading dollars. You're going backwards.
Right.
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 And
so a lot of people
not everybody wants somebody living in their side yard or their backyard.
Right. So a lot of people are putting their parents in them, or their...
Yeah. So so the story goes. These are and I've had a lot of meetings now and a lot of discussions. So I'm not going to say I'm the authority, but these are the primary stories of over 300 discussions I've had now. You know, mom and dad or mom, someone's still, a parent, lives anywhere from 10 minutes to wherever away, and one is getting sick or older, or one has passed away, unfortunately. They can't drive at night. They're still in the family home. They're sick of paying the taxes, yada, yada, yada. One sibling lives somewhere that has the room. They say, why don't you sell your house? We'll take that money, build an ADU. You'll be in the backyard. We'll be close. I can help take care of you, yada, yada, yada. The flip side of that is the child has outgrown the home they're in. They sell their house, buy the primary home, build the ADU for the parents in the backyard. So that's like 50 to 60% of the conversations. then a lot of the conversations revolve around someone that has some type of disability, either emotional or physical. And they're living in a group home, which is not ideal, obviously, and nothing against group homes, but obviously if you're with your family, it's better than being in a group home, right?
Yeah.
And, or they are living in some crappy apartment that's, again, 10 minutes to who knows how far away, and you just can't help them. You can't keep it. Listen, if it's 10 minutes away, it's still, by the time you get in your car, go over there, it's 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Then you got to help them do something, and then you got to drive back, that's an hour at a minimum. And how much quality really is in it? Probably not much. And you know, you feel like an idiot, and you're like, oh, I forgot this thing, I got to go back, right? And it's a lot of driving back and forth. And years ago, when there was more real estate, you would just be, oh, there's a little ranch 2 houses down, let's buy that for 150 grand.
Right.
And you'll live in that, and Jimmy will live on the other side, and everyone will be happy. The problem is it doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Right? So now we have the ability to build a real high quality structure, very energy efficient, that's going to last 75, 100, 150 years, because it's a regular house, it's just smaller.
Right.
And they're going to be right in the backyard, just like the one you went to look at on 44 Bartlett Road.
Yeah.
Right? So that's built specifically for her stepdad, who was all the way in Ohio. Her mother had passed away out there, unfortunately, and he was out there all alone. And they're like, this makes no sense. I can't help you in Ohio.
Right.
If you get in trouble and go in the hospital, it's going to take me 24 hours to get there, even if I'm lucky on flights.
Yeah.
Right? A lot can happen in 24 hours.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Right? Or, you know, the dishwasher, whatever it is, right? You know, and, you know, thankfully he was in a new house out there, so it's sold very quickly. But what if it was an old house that needed a lot of work, or the snow on the ground, or he falls down and hurts himself? Like, you know, you got to be in proximity. And that's the whole, so those are my customers. And then a small portion is older adult children that are trying to buy their first home and they can't find one to buy. And they're going to build this ADU, and then at some point in the future, they're either going to, you know, another family's going to move it, member's going to move into it, or they're going to move into the house and the parents are going to flip over.
So they flip-flop.
So, and that's part of that's a big reason it's attracted me to this, because I really love everything about this whole family dynamic.
I mean, you know, we in our culture, we put old people in CCRCs, right? We're like, you'll be fine.
Yeah, but I mean, that's, you know, that's 15 to 18 grand a month now. Right? Even if, and again, you know, nothing against those facilities, don't get me wrong, but you don't know who's taking care of them. Right? You don't know what's going on. And listen, at some point, maybe we all end up there, but let's stay as close as we can.
And they're not for everybody.
Exactly.
Some elderly people love them. But some it's not for them. They don't want to eat in a communal place every night.
Correct.
Right? And again,
so it's personality and a lot. So it just opens up a lot of options for people. And that's one thing I really love about it. So just on a pivot on that, so that was your first time going through an ADU?
Yes.
That was your first ADU inspection? So what did you think of the structure, the side? What did you think?
So I loved it. I thought it was great. it's obvious to me that you built a ton of places, because it was really well thought out. I'm like, oh, this is, you know, when I show up as a home inspector at a place like that, I'm going to be, oh, this is going to be an easy inspection, right? You know, there's not going to be a lot going on. You know, there are a couple little teeny things I picked up on.
And you know, and again, I told, so just full disclosure, what did I say to you about the inspection?
I want to know what's wrong with the place.
I said, go through it like you would go through any inspection. Don't hold any punches. And I know Chris was there and we filmed it. We're going to tie that in somehow into an episode. I don't know what that's going to look like yet, but we're going to get that. That's a separate episode. But I said to you, listen, just go through it, because it's good for me to get another set of eyes to say, you know, where's my blind spot? So
yeah, I mean, I thought that the layout, I mean, people don't hire me for this, but I thought the layout on the living floor was great. You know, makes a lot of sense, easy, very efficient. You know, stuff is all sort of right where it needs to be. Laundry's not near the bedrooms. You know, just all sort of, you know, smart stuff like that. I was interesting that you did a heat pump water heater, which I like. I think they're great. They do cool the houses down. So obviously in the closet where you had that, you had a louvered door to sort of mix the air around. And I guess there was no gas in that one.
No, so that's 100% electric.
Right.
We can do mixed fuel now in ADUs.
You can.
You can add a gas component, but honestly, you know, the more I talk to people, I said, listen, you know, unless you're into gas stoves, let's just do all electric, because it's very efficient. Number one. Number two, there's one less thing to break, right? And it's just, and it's less expensive because we don't need the plumber to do all that gas piping.
Right. Right.
So
I have an interesting thing that just came up with a couple other home inspectors. I think it's interesting to think about efficiency versus the cost of the electricity. So I've had a lot of clients move into brand new construction, heat pumps only. You know, the walls are this thick, it's all spray foam, right? And so the houses are tight, but they're like, I'm paying $9,000 a month, you know, in the winter to heat this place. And you know, I'd like to hear your thoughts on it, but I'm saying you still have to buy the electricity to run the heat pumps.
100%. Right. So that could be a whole episode, but I will tell you that the electrification of our grid in our homes and energy makes zero sense with the way we produce electricity today. Okay, solar panels, in my opinion, have a super long payback. By the time you dig the stuff out of the ground, you know, they get manufactured in China, they get set on a boat, you get the aluminum, a guy goes up on the roof, you put it up on the roof, right? I don't know what that break-even number is, but it's got to be years, right? Before it even becomes where you're getting, you know, green energy, right? Wind is another thing, you know, that's a whole nother story. And then, of course, we have standard fossilized fuel. You know, nuclear made sense, but they never could get it safe.
Right.
So the secret is a thing called fusion, okay? Fusion is completely safe. It's the sun runs on fusion, and it's done by a huge magnetic field containing a 100 million degree ball of energy, which is a mini sun that you control inside this fusion reactor. And they're building one right now in Fort Devens in Massachusetts. It's called Commonwealth Fusion. And if they can get that to work, electricity will be 2 cents a kilowatt to produce, and it's unlimited energy. And you need 1,000 of these, what they call them arc reactors. You need 1,000 of these to power the United States for every single electrical need you would ever want. You could run everything with electricity, and it would be dirt cheap, and it would make sense. If they can get this thing to work, all this push towards electricity will make sense. If they can't get that to work, we're all in trouble because the grid's going to collapse.
Right.
100%.
What's the downside to these fusion things?
None. Zero.
They might not work. Well, how can they not get it to work?
Oh, it works. The problem is right now you have to put in more energy to run it than you get out.
Okay.
Right? And the tipping point, don't quote me on this, I think it was 1 point. So the best they ever did prior to this new one they're building is 0.85. So they lost 15%, right? And the interesting thing is the way they make the electricity is they take the superheat and they run a steam generator. So they go right back to the 1800s running steam generators. Now, obviously, they're much more efficient, but it's just funny how that's full circle. Right? So if they can get it to almost 2 to 1, if they can get 2 to 1 out of it, then it makes commercial sense. And for $1.5 billion, you go to a power plant, existing power plant, you rip out what's there, you put this arc reactor in with all the components, you already have the overhead wires there. You plug the thing in, it runs for 30 years, and there's zero downside. If it malfunctions, it just shuts off. There's no radiation. There are neutrons inside and electrons inside, but you put in 3-foot concrete walls, and that absorbs those. So you can't go in the room when it's running because it'll kill you. But outside of the room, you're fine. And if it shuts off, it's never going to explode. There's no, there's no radiation, none of that stuff. Yeah, they can kill you. So if that works, that all makes sense. This all makes sense. If they can't get that working in a reasonable period of time, these houses with these 1,200 amp services all over the place, drawing all that power in the middle of August, I think we're going to see some grid shuffling. My opinion.
I agree. I mean, induction ranges, electric car chargers, heat pumps, it's all.
I was at a house the other day, it had a 1,200 amp electric service. And there was another one I went to had 4 400s.
How big were these places?
Big. I mean, 10,000 square foot house, 8,000 square foot house. But to your point, it's really hard to make enough heat in a big house like that with a heat pump for it to work efficiently. And what has to happen, well, what does happen, is a lot of the bigger units have an electric coil backup. Right? And so guess what? Now you're just back to electric heat.
You're back to a heat pump from 1984.
And that meter, when you hit that breaking point, that meter just goes wing.
Right? It'll cool you.
So, it's interesting. That's way above my pay grade, but the secret is pray for fusion, pray for Commonwealth Fusion to make their thing work. Interesting, most of the investors, the early investors, were European oil companies.
Really?
Yeah.
That is
Because they see the handwriting on the wall, because
Yeah.
if they can get it to work, then they own the reactor.
Right.
They get whatever, 5 cents a kilowatt for the next 30 years.
Yeah.
Right? And they ran the math and said, this is a great investment.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But all that makes, if all this electrification makes sense if we can get that to
If we
work.
can get that to work.
Yeah.
Yeah. We probably still need to work on the grid a little bit, right?
No, it'll still require a
Yeah.
major upgrade, but at least the part of generating electricity.
It will be solved.
And plus, they can make them smaller too and put more around.
Right.
So you don't have these huge,
Right.
you don't have the problem of this transmission loss.
Yeah.
I forget what the number is we lose in
yeah.
transmission loss. I think it's like 20 or 30% we lose in,
Right.
in the transmission
It's
of
that
the
thing when you're working on something and you have a 150-foot
Yeah.
extension cord and you're like, this saw doesn't work anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Same principle.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's why they run at such high voltage.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but anyway, so that was good. So I appreciate the inspection.
Yeah, so I have one question for you about the crawl space.
Sure.
What's underneath the spray foam?
Dirt.
Dirt. Gravel? Dirt?
No,
Vapor
just the
barrier?
sand. That's just sand.
That's just sand?
Yeah, and it's
Okay.
3-pound spray foam.
Okay.
So that foam is the same foam they use on roofs.
Okay.
So in other parts of the country, that is the roofing, is the spray foam, and then they put an elastomeric coating on top of it, and it becomes the roof.
Really?
Yeah, and it's I don't know if you banged on it, but it's really hard.
I was crawling around on it, so yeah.
And that acts as the vapor barrier and the insulation all in one.
And the R value.
And
yeah.
then I don't know if you saw it, and I should have labeled it. There's a radon pipe there.
I did see it.
Yeah, and so that's acting as a radon shield.
Right.
And it's up the walls and up on the sills,
Yeah.
right up. So it's basically a little Eagle cooler.
Right.
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 And I call that a conditions crawl space. It is in the building code, and it's an unvented assembly, they call it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think all that's great. I was a little worried about the lack of structure on the floor, but have you built a ton of them and it's not a big deal?
As far as the basement floor, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, so on a crawl space, if you think about it, it's a very short wall.
Yeah.
And you have a footing, and the footing's filled with dirt.
Yeah.
Right? So there's really, I can't imagine. Now listen, this is all sand where we're at.
Right.
If it was
really good drainage.
Yeah, if it was clay soil,
Yeah.
it probably would require, I would pour what we call, unfortunately it's called a rat slab.
Yeah.
Just a quick, 3-inch pour, and then spray foam over it.
Okay, so you would do it if the
100%.
soil conditions were
and
different.
then there's times
Yeah.
when you have to do it. So we just did one in Kingston, and that did require a slab anyways because of our proximity to the leaching field.
Okay.
So in the Board of Health code, and again, I don't remember the distance, but
Yeah.
we were a little less than the distance we needed to because we had an existing leaching field, and we squeezed the ADU in. So that the way we got the permit was to put the basement floor in.
Right.
The
Okay.
crawl space floor.
Okay, so it's on a job by job basis. Yeah.
Right, and again, it's all budget versus need.
Yeah.
Right now,
Yeah.
if I had expansive soils there, clay, something like that, I'd be like, listen, we're going to pour a floor and then we're going to insulate.
Right. Right.
Because once the floor is in, you'll never collapse those walls.
Yeah.
Right, it's just physically
Oh
impossible.
yeah. I mean, yeah. No, I really liked it, and the insulators were there doing the attic.
Yeah.
And so they were in and out of there in no time. A whole big blanket of cellulose up there.
Yeah, so the last one that we did of those units, getting back to the energy cost, I did speak to 72 Jordan Road. I spoke to the Mayets, and their electric bill is running on average, throughout the whole year, about $5,000.
Okay.
And that's for everything. That's for heat, lights, hot water,
For
everything.
the year, that's very reasonable.
I thought so.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's
900 square feet?
Yeah, it's a little under. So that one was built prior to the measuring from the inside face of the walls.
Okay.
So it's like 875 on the inside.
Okay.
That's 900 on the outside, but similar construction.
Right.
It does have a full basement, that one, so a little bit more energy loss there.
Right.
It doesn't have that igloo underneath. So like, 5,000-ish for the year.
Right.
And there's 3 people living in that one.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and active, showers,
Right.
Hot water,
Right, full-time.
cooking,
Yeah.
running a washer dryer. So I think that's pretty good, and that's really your only utility bill,
Yeah.
right? Other than internet.
Right. Right. No.
So
yeah.
I was pretty happy with that.
Yeah, I think that they're great. I mean, I have a lot of friends that live in California, and ADUs have been big out there.
Oh,
for
yeah,
a while.
forever. Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
Yeah. And I thought, can I ask you how you got into this niche. It seems like such such a specific.
It is. So, you know, my ex, Pam used to work for me a million years ago. I've told this story before, and she had her second son who had some developmental issues, and she had to stop working to take care of him. And so, fast forward 25 years, they had, you know, Plymouth had tried to pass an ADU bylaw 3 years in a row, and she was like, "We got to get this thing. We want to build an ADU for my son Billy. You know, we don't want him in a group home." Yada, yada, yada. I said, well, listen, I said, if it was me, I would get on the phone, and the town meeting in Plymouth is run by representatives. And I forget how many there are, but it's not 5,000, it's probably 500 people, whatever it is. I said, I'd call every one of them and tell them why they should pass this thing. So they did. They got a whole bunch of people together and they grassrooted.
Really?
Yeah. So they got it passed. You know, it was a bunch of people calling, but you know, they called a lot of people, and it got passed. And so we pulled, as soon as it went, you know, got passed by town meeting, we were ready. We had already had our zoning permit ready, and we filed zoning permit number 1, and we got that very first permit, and we got the very first building permit for an ADU. And then we were building it, and I wouldn't say I was doing it as a favor, but I was intrigued by the project, and I was starting to formulate what an ADU meant, and was reading them online in California, and families and all that. And then it had popped into my head. No, I had a presentation from an SEO website guy, and he said one of the things my contractors do is have open houses at houses they're building. And I said, I should have an open house at the ADU. It just popped into my head. And I said, well, I'll put a sign out and see what happens. The place was mobbed. Mobbed.
Really?
Mobbed. And half the people were people, not half, but 20% of the people that came were people that just had voted at town meeting and wanted to see what an ADU was.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And they were very happy. You know, that again, same thing, 9-foot ceilings, big open floor plan.
Yeah.
You know, we worked hard on it. It's a great layout. And it's the X4, it's the X4 on my X5.
Okay.
It's the X5 on my website. Anyways, so and being at every one of those open houses, I think we had 300 families through. So in groups from 2 to 10 people would show up, because it's just a family decision, right? And hearing those stories and all that, I said, you know what, I really like this.
Yeah.
You know, I like this, and I originally started, I was gonna kind of go down that custom built road, and it's just not for me. That's not who I am, and I love building great stuff, but I like this, you know, this family dynamic.
Yeah.
You know, I've done all that high-end stuff, and you know, built a ton of stuff over the years, and you know, it's just okay. It's another kitchen, whatever, right? This I sink my teeth into. Yeah. And so just hearing the stories and that, I said, you know what, this is something I'm going to really lean into, and so I have. And that's pretty much all I talk about now.
That's fantastic. How did your family feel about it?
Yeah, I think, you know, it's why I think they're sick of hearing about it, but we're actually really, I know we already do a lot of content, but we're actually going to ramp it up even more.
Really? Yeah.
And we're having open houses.
Yeah.
So this weekend, we're starting at 250 Main Street in Kingston.
Okay.
That's a 500 square foot, 1-bedroom, 1-bath unit, a little smaller. And we have open houses. So to give you an idea, last weekend, we had over 50 people through over 2 days. Wow. 50 families, excuse me, 50 families, not just people. So it could be 100 to 150 people came through.
It just shows you what a huge need there is.
Massive,
right?
massive.
Like, people don't want to put their old parents, you know, somewhere
but there's 2 things going on. One, they don't want that situation for them. 2, they don't understand what 900 square foot feels like.
Right.
Right, and it's huge for them to be able to come and walk it.
Yeah.
Right?
Because it's much bigger than people think.
Exactly. It's the number one reaction I get.
Yeah.
And we're actually the other next thing we're going to do this August is we're actually going to be at the Marshfield Fair. So we're going to have we're going to have our open house trailer at the Marshfield Fair, and see how many people we can introduce ADUs there.
You should think about sponsoring our Ashley New England conference that we're having in September.
Okay.
Come have a little table. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll talk to you about it on the side.
All right, yeah.
I'm in charge of getting sponsors there.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I guess I'm on the hook now.
Exactly. I don't know if it'll lead to any builds, but I don't know.
No, you'd be surprised. We'll talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but anyway, so that's kind of how I got on the ADU journey, and I was glad to have you come and look at it. I appreciate your time you spent there. Is there anything else you want to talk about before we get into the lightning round?
No, I think we've, hit on a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, no, it's good.
Yeah.
I told you we'd have fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. So, so now we get into the fun stuff. So we talked about some of your mentors, but I don't know if you want to give a couple more shout outs to your early mentors in the business.
Well, my dad is one, because we would work on old English motorcycles together. We'd work on Ford Model A's together. We would, work on the house together. So, him for sure. My uncle Jeff May, he was huge in getting me into the business. And all of my young and old, everybody at Ashley, New England, who I break bread with, regularly, and we just share stories and learn from each other.
Yeah, there you go. So what are you seeing for industry trends coming up? How is AI trickling into your world?
So AI is big in the software, where my particular software, if I use a comment more, it comes to the top of the software. There will be, that's about all that I know about the AI piece. I had a client just 2 days ago say, you're fine with this whole AI stuff because AI is not going to go into the basement. So I think that a lot of people are using drones now. Mm-hmm. I think that's probably the next big thing for roofs. I've been a little bit reticent about it because I don't want to get an FAA license, but we'll see. I've also been.
It's pretty easy. You can do it online.
Yeah, I've been looking at roofs with binoculars for 25 years, and I kind of see what I need to see. But there's all sorts of like crawl space robots now and stuff like that. So yeah.
All right. Favorite tool you can't live without?
It'd have to be a flashlight.
There you go.
I got to see. If I can't see, I can't inspect.
Yeah. Dream project you'd love to work on?
So I love inspecting 1850 to 1890, like 4,000 to 5,000 square foot Victorians.
Nice.
Just beautifully built, like everything about them. Like the wood was gorgeous, hardwood. The foundations are this thick. It's I just love going into those. Okay. There's also a lot of history, so you might see like a incinerator in the basement or like an early hydro air system. Those old places had hydro air in them, this enormous thing that would, the air would just go through, naturally convect up through the house. Those are probably my favorite homes to inspect.
All right, best piece of advice you've ever received?
It's probably about the job that you're on at that particular moment is the most important thing that you're doing at that time.
So lock in.
So lock in. Be present. If you have 2 jobs in a day, don't rush through the first one to get to the second. Call the second guy and say, hey, I'm going to be 10 minutes late, which doesn't usually happen the way I set up my schedule.
Yeah,
but
it does happen though.
Yeah. It's that client that you have right there is
be present.
Your main focus.
Yeah, be present. And it's hard to do. The phone's ringing and texting and all that stuff.
It is.
Yeah. Advice you would give your younger self?
Think more about building a business and not just being a good home inspector. Think about the business aspect of your job. I'm not very good at that. So I'm a really good home inspector who provides a great service and provides a great product, but I'm not a good businessman. And so I would have said to my younger self, hey, learn more about this.
All right. Favorite food or dessert? Or both?
Probably Italian food is by far my favorite.
Okay. And the dessert?
Chocolate cake or ice cream.
Okay. Any particular ice cream?
There's a place in Belmont called Rankin Torrey's that has the best. It has everything is great, but they have a really simple, but it's delicious chocolate chip. The chocolate that's in it is off the hook good. I'm a huge chocolate fan.
All right.
I'm a huge chocolate
All right,
fan.
there we go. Well, I can't go there then. If you had, because I'll end up eating a whole quart.
Right.
If you had $10 million to donate, what would you do? Who would you donate it to?
I'd probably spread it out, but my father passed away a couple years ago, and Doctors Without Borders for him was big. I'm worried about the earth getting warmer, so I'd probably do stuff about that. Maybe look into, given what I do and that worry, I'd probably try to do stuff with efficiencies, insulation. So probably those,
Yeah. And then last question: if you could have dinner with anyone alive or dead, who would it be?
I've been getting into Buddhism, so maybe the Buddha. Maybe.
The original.
Yeah.
The OG.
Long time ago, the OG. I'd have to go back 2,600 years, but yeah, why not?
Could be anybody.
Yeah. Why not?
And so what would you ask Buddha?
I would, well, he had an interesting story of where he got to. I think you just have to break bread with a guy like that and see what he has to say.
Okay. Let's have a little podcast.
Exactly.
All right. Well, that's a wrap for today's episode of the BuildX Podcast. Thank you to Alex from JBS Home Inspections for joining us. Please subscribe, like, and share if you've enjoyed it. We'll see you next week. And remember, just build, baby.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.